So I'll start. You were born in Leland, Mississippi.
That is correct.
And your family was involved in the cotton industry, from what I understand.
Well, the cotton industry, not really. My mother, no. It's growing up in the South at that, and from the time when I was growing up, when I was born, there was a lot of migrant workers.
Right.
Yeah. My mother and my had worked working on a farm. Yes, picking cotton. Yeah. But that was an early part. My mother also was one of the first blacks to work. She was trained to work in a doctor's office. My mother cooked in a high school. Was one of the cooks. And my mother also did. I said she did house cleaning. She also worked in the cleaners.
Oh wow!
She was what you call a professional silk finisher. Is what she calls it, instead of just working.
Silk finisher.
A silk finisher. So let's see, what else did she do? She did lots of things.
So how did you guys end up moving out to California, to Long Beach?
We moved out to California because my mother was fed up with the segregation and having grown up that way from a child, and
right.
And she just had it.
Yeah.
And so she was no longer willing to go by the rules. But she was always kind of a rebel anyway.
Yeah.
So my mother figured that if she continued to stay there, somebody was going to end up coming to visit her in a prison because she was going to probably take somebody's life.
Yeah.
You can imagine.
Definitely.
Living that kind of lifestyle. So So we had an uncle. My mother had an uncle. But my grandmother also lived with us. It was my mother and my grandmother. And my grandmother had a brother and a sister who was living in California, Long Beach, California, and they suggested that that maybe we should come to California, and it would be a lot different out here, and more opportunities, and for school and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But as a child, let me say that as a child, because I lived in Mississippi from birth until 10 years old. Growing up there, most of my life was, my community was spent in that community, which was a black community. We had, our church activities, I had went to an all-black school. All my friends were there. So I didn't see a lot of that segregated part of it until I would have to go into town.
Yeah.
And also at the doctor's office that my mother worked in the office, and she worked. There was a family of doctors. There was also a dentist who was a brother.
Okay.
There was a father and his son that were in practice, and they also had a dental office there. And I remember sometimes I'd come from school and I would go by to say to my mother, because it would be on my way home. And I remember they'd have they'd have colored entrance. I don't remember saying white entrance, but it would say colored entrance. And they would have like there might be a water fountain, in there, water fountain, just for drinking, just a little drinking fountain.
Right.
And it says colored side, which was, I didn't quite get it.
Yeah.
And but like I said, my school, well, I had black teachers, and it was all, my friends in that. So I didn't really, all that hard, all that thing. My childhood was I had a lot of fun growing up.
Yeah. And so she raised you guys single too, right?
Yes, she did.
So that's great. So that's really admirable. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we came to Long Beach when I was, like I said, the age of 10. I was so excited about coming along. and we had gone through St. Louis to visit some more relatives, and we came out here, and that's how we got here.
And so when did you take an interest in music?
I'd always had an interest in music. My mother discovered when I was the lady that used to take care of me before my grandmother came to live with us. My grandmother didn't live with us until I was about maybe 3-4 years old. But before my grandmother came to live with us, there was the lady that took care of me was a friend of my mom's, and she played the piano for the Sunday school. And so she would, practice her, hymns and that. And she said that I knew how to sing along. I would remember them. I would remember the words.
Right.
And I would remember, when to stop, when to come back in again. Like if there was, so many bars of music, and I just knew this naturally.
Yeah.
And so she started me singing in church. There was in our area there was two brothers, the Lindsay brothers, I think was their name. They had a radio station, and so they would have me on, like on the Sunday morning. I would come in and do a song on the radio.
Do you remember the name of the radio station?
I don't remember the name of the radio station, and so I did that, and then every time there was a program, once they discovered that I could sing, well, I was on programs all the time.
On TV or radio?
Well, no, not TV.
Yeah, this is before
I'm
Big
saying
Advent.
Right. On programs
The radio,
at church,
the gospel shows.
at church programs.
Oh, okay, right,
Yeah.
recitals and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, was the Art Reynolds Singers, was that your first professional?
Now, the Art Reynolds Singers was a group that was formed out of Art Reynolds, and I were friends from the 7th grade.
Okay.
And we formed a group when we were in high school.
Okay.
And then we started singing. We would sing gospel, at church.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how we formed the group of the Art Reynolds Singers.
Okay.
It was formed out of our church choir.
So how did you guys end up with Capitol Records?
Well, we would, like I said, we used to sing in different churches and in the California area,
Mm-hmm.
and so we loved doing it, and we were very good. We based our sound. There was a group called the Clark Sisters,
Right.
and there was a group called the
Is that the same Clark sisters that they still?
No.
Okay, it's a different one. Okay.
No, this was way.
Okay, yeah.
But the Davis sisters, the Clara Ward singers.
Okay, yeah.
And then I'm trying to think of the name. Oh my God, it was that had Cassetta George, Shirley Caesar, Caravans.
Okay.
The group called the Caravans, and so we tried to base our sound, to be like theirs.
Oh, great.
And we were very good because it was about 5 of us, and everyone in the group pretty much was a soloist.
Yeah.
And so, but we also were able to do very good harmonies together. So we got lots of invitations to go places to sing, and so we would rehearse at Art's house in the garage.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And sometimes we'd be in there rehearsing, and like the whole neighborhood would come out, and that would be their entertainment to come and watch us rehearse. And so this one night, one of the neighbors worked at McDonnell Douglas down in Long Beach.
And that was, what was that exactly?
McDonnell Douglas is, McDonnell Douglas aircraft place.
Okay.
They make airplanes.
All right.
Yeah, McDonnell Douglas.
Okay.
It's a famous, place for making airplanes. And so there was a guy that worked there. I think he was in the engineering department.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think of what Bob's name is. This is really taxing my brain. His name was Bob. I have to get his last name.
Okay.
Okay, but at any rate, he, this lady that worked there knew that this guy was somehow involved in the music industry.
Yeah.
He was one of those guys that, I'm working here in McDonnell Douglas in the engineering department, but I'm really a musician.
Yeah. Trying to pay the bills.
Right. So anyway, she told him about the group, and he came to our rehearsal and was just, astounded.
Yeah.
Taken back. So he really did work with a guy by the name of Gary Paxton.
Right. Yeah, and I know he produced like Baby Mine and those records for you.
Well, he produced, yeah.
Yeah.
And Gary Paxton also had produced, now I think he's producing like gospel music. I think he might still be around.
Okay.
But anyway, Gary Paxton had a deal with Capitol Records.
Yeah.
Where he would, like I guess a production. He wasn't really affiliated with them, but he put up the money for the thing and sold it to
Capitol.
how they do.
Yeah.